I just got back to seeing the Barbie movie. It was fun, it was exciting, and I will make a video about that. Trust me, I have a lot to say. But this video is not about the Barbie movie. This is a video I've been planning on making for a few days. I just never got the chance to. So, like most of you guys, I grew up at a very specific era. Mostly the early 2000s, right? And I was a fan of all the classic Nickelodeon and Disney shows. I of course watched iCarly, Victorious, Drake and Josh, you name it, I was a big fan of. And I feel like a really underrated show was indeed Zoey 101. I don't know, I just feel like no one really talks about that one as much. I feel like an overhyped show, in my opinion, is Victorious. I mean, again, I liked it, I watched it, I enjoyed it a lot, but that's like the main show I hear people talking about, probably because it was more of the later generation. I mean, it still came out early, obviously, but like Drake and Josh and Zoey 101, they came out before Victorious. The same thing with iCarly, for the most part. They kind of intertwined at one point, but nonetheless, it was still more of a later show. But Zoey 101 was one of Dan Schneider's best, in my opinion, and I know we're not a fan of Dan. I know what he did, and I'm definitely not supporting the dude, but we have to admit that he did make some pretty good shows. And Zoey 101 was probably one of his really only show that he made where he tried a different genre. He didn't just make it a classic sitcom with a laugh track and a comedy. He wanted to make something similar to the show Degrassi, but it's more for kids. Thus, Zoey 101 became its thing. And I don't know if some of you knew, but when Dan Schneider creates shows, he doesn't really write the show and then cast the people. He kind of does it opposite. He finds someone that he likes, and that inspires him to make a show. So he knew of Britney Spears, like everyone. Especially in the early 2000s, Britney Spears was all the rage. She was super, super popular. She was mostly famous in like 2002 was probably her Queen era. And Britney Spears' sister, Jamie Lynn Spears, had an acting career, or at least she wanted an acting career. So Dan Schneider sought her out and saw Jamie Lynn Spears, and then he was inspired to write Zoey 101 because of her. So he kind of based the character Zoey off of Jamie Lynn. And Britney Spears was also kind of a producer for a lot of episodes on Zoey 101. So here's the thing. Yes, I enjoyed Zoey 101, and I know Zoey 101 has a lot of controversies now, especially because everything going on with Alexis Nicholas. If you guys don't know, there's so many videos about it, so I'm not going to go too full in detail because this really isn't about that in particular, but there's so much videos about it. You guys could literally look it up. I think she did like a whole 3-hour long podcast for the H3 cast, for the A3 channel, I mean. She did a whole entire analysis there. She was on the channel Sloan, where they talk about the situation. So based on my understanding, because I did read a lot about it and I did watch a lot about it, so from my understanding, she said that if you guys don't know, Alexis Nicholas plays Nicole Britsville on Zoey 101 for the first 2 seasons, and after that she wasn't in the show anymore. So basically, from my understanding, from what I've researched, basically she said that she was bullied a lot behind the scenes. She was bullied a lot behind the scenes. The most people that she really brought up was the actress who played Dana. I'm sorry, I don't remember her name right now. It'll be here. I forgot her name. But Jamie Lynn Spears, who plays Zoey, and Victoria Justice, who plays Lola. She claimed that she was bullied a lot by those people. And she said that the woman who played Dana was pretty badly bullying her during the first season filming, so which was the main reason why she had to leave the show after season 1. And then the bullying still got really bad, that Alexis Nicholas had to leave the show after season 2. But it didn't only really just stop there. During the production, apparently Alexis tried to talk about the situation to Dan Schneider, but Dan Schneider basically just like brushed it off, didn't care about her, didn't really try to fix anything. He just kind of tried to bribe her into keeping her mouth shut.
You've mentioned you didn't feel safe on set. All the adults made me feel that way. Telling them that I felt uncomfortable on set, there was bullying happening. 5 minutes later, he comes back, it's like a DVD player. Does this make you feel better?
And because of all of this as well, because Jamie Lynn was apparently doing most of the bullying, Jamie Lynn got her sister, Britney Spears, to interrogate Alexis to the point where she almost started crying. So that's the main thing with the whole Alexis thing. And that is another reason why lots of people did not like that they were going to make a reboot of Zoey 101. And that's also another reason why Alexis Nicholas wasn't in the reboot for the show. So that's one main reason. A second reason mainly is just because of Jamie Lynn in general. Because Jamie Lynn, of course, has lots of controversies. No one wants to watch because of her. Because she generally... Again, it's a lot to get into, and even I don't understand it to the full extent. Britney Spears has a memoir coming out, which I'm very excited for. I'm definitely going to check it out to see if she talks more about the whole Jamie Lynn situation, the relationship with her sister. But it's just a lot to get into, so I won't really have that much time to get into it. But it's pretty intense. It's pretty crazy. And that's another reason why people weren't really excited for the Zoey 101 reboot, especially because it's one of the reboots where no one really asked for it, to be honest. Not saying they didn't like the original show, but it just kind of came out of nowhere because there's like a podcast with the Ned's Declassified people, and people assumed there was going to be a reboot for them. And people has been begging for Victoria's reboot for the longest time, but that didn't happen. And then all of a sudden Zoey 101 came out with a reboot. So it was kind of out of nowhere. It was just pretty random, just out of the ordinary. But nonetheless, I'm not gonna lie. This might sound really cheesy, but Zoey 101 for some reason does have like a weird place in my soul. I can't really explain why. Maybe because, like, it was just so casual. It was a different show. It was one of those shows that made me feel like I was watching an adult show, even though it wasn't an adult show. But I also loved the relationships in it. I love the relationship of Chase and Zoey, one of my favorites. I love Logan and Quinn, another one of my favorites. And I even liked freaking Lisa and Michael. I thought they were really cute together. So they did really good with that. They did lots of good with the development of the characters, lots of great chemistry. It was a really well written show. So I'm not gonna lie, I was really curious when the reboot came out because I really wanted to see what it was about. Especially because it was about Logan and Quinn's wedding, from my understanding. So that's a really good marketing campaign to make it about the couple that probably people care about the most into the movie. Which I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty good marketing. So I did not watch the reboot for the first, week it was out or something. But everyone else did. They watched it pretty much the first day it came out, and everyone was like... everyone wasn't really happy about it from what I saw. Lots of people thought it was really bad, badly written. They didn't like anything about it, really. But again, I was really curious. It's only like an hour and a half movie. I wanted to check it out to see how bad it could be. And this might come as a shock to a lot of people, and some people might also get mad. But I honestly did not think it was that bad. I really didn't. It was actually pretty well written for the most part. It was also entertaining, I would say. The characters are pretty in character. I don't know, there wasn't a lot of original characters in the reboot, but again, it really wasn't as bad as I thought. I thought it was going to be really bad. But I do have to also hand it out to the director, because the director was really good for this movie. It was really fun. It was really good directing in general. I really did enjoy that. So without no further ado, I'm just going to be talking about what I liked about it and what I didn't like about it. But before I get into that, I'm just going to give you a pretty in-depth summary of the whole entire movie. So if you guys don't want any spoilers, don't watch this part. Or you shouldn't really watch this video at all. because they're gonna be spoilers, so warning in advance. So basically, it takes place over a decade after the original show ended, and we get to see where the gang is now. Michael is a music producer. Logan inherited his father's job. Quinn is probably the most successful of them all. She is the CEO of iPhones. Stacy is a host of a murder podcast, which I thought was pretty random because I didn't think she was really into that in the show. But we all knew that she liked talking, so a podcast, probably good for her. And she is also married to Mark Del Figolo, who is her producer. Chase is a 5th grade teacher in Baltimore. And Dustin, even though he's not in the movie, they mentioned that he has 3 kids. Wow. But Zoey is a producer of a show. I don't know why so many of them are producers. But she is struggling to get a promotion that she really wants. And she is very much missing high school because the real world isn't as easy as she made it seem in high school. She's also very much missing her friends. She mentioned that something happened between her and Chase in Hawaii after senior year. If you guys don't remember the season finale or the series finale, she invited Chase to be with her for the entire summer in Hawaii after they become officially boyfriend and girlfriend. But apparently here, they apparently said something happened when they were in Hawaii, but they didn't really mention it until much later in the movie. But apparently Chase and Zoey haven't spoken in about 10 years. And Zoey apparently seems like she keeps trying to reach out to Chase, but Chase really isn't responding to her. We find out that Quinn and Logan are engaged, and Quinn asks Zoey to be her bridesmaid. But Zoey doesn't want to show up to the wedding alone, so she hires a fake boyfriend, especially after knowing that Chase will be there. Zoey then realizes that Quinn and Logan's wedding is the same day as Zoey's show's live production, which she very much has to attend if she wants to get the promotion that she really, really wants. So basically, she tries to struggle with dealing with Quinn and Logan's wedding and also dealing with the production of her show. It was also mentioned that Chase has a girlfriend, that they've been together for quite a while. Meanwhile, Quinn was pretty stressed about getting ready for the wedding, mainly because Logan is making it a bigger spectacle than Quinn wants, and she's frustrated that Logan won't listen to her. Chase and Zoey briefly talk after meeting each other at the reception. Everything looks pretty awkward, but they do make that reference to the very first time they ever saw each other in the show, where Chase bumps into a flagpole, and he did the same thing at the wedding party when he first meets Zoey. So later on, Chase and Zoey eventually talk about what happened in Hawaii, but they don't really go into much detail about it. Chase basically mentioned that she left him alone on Hawaii and basically just ditched him. Zoey apologizes for this, and it leads to a kiss.
Oh, that sounds so ridiculous. Why would...
Their car broke down and they almost missed the wedding. Everything basically falls apart for Zoey when she is caught working at the wedding and was caught lying about her fake boyfriend. But this mainly made Quinn snap at Logan about how basically he never paid attention to her during this whole thing, and that she thought that maybe they deserved or wanted different things. So she ran away during the wedding. Iconic runaway bride.
The wedding is off.
If I'm so smart, why do I feel so dumb?
Later, Zoey and Chase talk by the beach. And must I say, side note, before I even continue with this whole summary analysis, they mentioned something that you guys probably heard of, but they mentioned this during a bar scene, it was before all this, but they mentioned it at a random bar scene when everyone just hanging out, chilling. They mentioned that PCA got shut down in 2009. They were the last class to graduate because some parents complained about low graduation and teaching standards. So a whole investigation got done at PCA, but then they found out that the whole thing was a scam. And the principal, Dean Rivers, basically stole lots of the kids' tuition money for gambling. I'm sorry, what? I can now look at Dean Rivers the same again. And not only is there so much plot holes with that, because in the original show, they showed how PCA has been around for hundreds of years, and Dean Rivers is not the founder of PCA, so I don't know why they even mentioned that, to be honest. And they also said that it wasn't even accredited. And then Logan basically just summed up everything she was saying by saying that it wasn't even a real school.
Yeah, it wasn't even a real school. The student loans were real!
Not even a real school? So they don't even have a high school diploma? What? That is just so weird. I don't know why they put that in. I really don't. Why did they put that in the movie? That gotta make my mind explode. What? And the way they said it, they were just so happy. I mean, I know it happened a long time ago for them. 2009 obviously is a long time ago for them. But seriously, what? That is just so random. I can't wrap my head around that. That is the worst part about this movie. That whole thing in general was so bad. What? Anyway, continuing with the rest of the summary. Zoey and Logan talk by the beach after Quinn runs away from the wedding. And Chase then admits to Zoey that he actually isn't dating anyone right now either, and the girlfriend that he brought was actually his ex-girlfriend. And Zoey also admits how much she misses PCA and how she would kill to do anything to go back there. So they decide to go back to an abandoned PCA to have a more casual wedding for Logan and Quinn. So Logan apologizes to Quinn through their window, and they make that very cute reference that they made in the prom episode of Zoey 101 when they first admit that they were together.
I love Quinn Pensky! And I love Logan Reese! Shut up!
Quinn does follow Logan, and they go to PCA to have a very casual wedding. Quinn gets married in a lab coat, which she always wanted. They get married, and Zoey ends up getting the promotion that she wanted. Zoey and Chase kiss, and they share a dance after Chase admits that he never stopped loving her.
Whatever the future holds, I hope that you're in it, because I love you, Zoey, and I always have.
I love you too.
But it honestly ends in a really strange way. So I kind of glossed over this part, but basically since Stacy is a murder podcast host, she's basically been talking about this case about the Malibu murderer. And they saw the picture of what the Malibu murderer looks like, and they said that it looked very similar to Zoey's fake boyfriend. But all these allegations was the thing that made Zoey's fake boyfriend admit who he was. And basically after figuring out that he wasn't a murderer, Stacy apologizes to him, and he basically blows it off, saying that's all cool. But then we see him hide a body in the trunk of his car, and him shushing the body, and then closing the trunk. And that's how it ends.
Guys, get home safe, okay?
What? Yeah, it's weird. I'm not gonna lie, this movie is weird. It was entertaining. I enjoyed it for as much as I watched it. And it's probably one of the better reboots, honestly. But again, what? So let me get into what I liked about this movie. So what I liked is, of course, Logan and Quinn's relationship. Not only are they one of my favorite couples from childhood pretty much, but they are definitely the perfect example of an enemies to lovers trope. And not only that, but also like the underdog couple. We get to see how much they evolved over the course of like 10 years, how comfortable they are with each other, how everyone else reacts to them being together. It's honestly really sweet. And another thing I weirdly liked, which probably sounds weird saying that I liked this, but it was kind of Zoey's crisis, to be honest, because it's very relatable, the crisis that she had. But not only that, it's also just like what I wasn't a fan of about the original franchise is basically how I didn't mind Zoey as a character, but how basically everyone kind of treated her like a god. They acted like she could do no wrong, that she was the queen of the school, she was so popular, everyone like basically kissed the ground she walked on. But I like how in this one, she was kind of the one who was struggling the most, honestly, because she peaked at high school. Now she's living in the real world. Not everything is perfect, not everything's the way it seems. All of her friends are skyrocketing. She's kind of stuck in like a quarter-life crisis in a way, which is kind of refreshing to see. I'm glad that she kind of got it together towards the end, but again, it kind of proves that life isn't perfect, and it's definitely not perfect after high school. This might be a controversial one, but I kind of liked how Chase and Zoey rekindled, because I've seen so many people online saying that Chase and Zoey did not get back together in the end. And sure, it wasn't official, but it was like heavily replied that they were going to get back together at the end, because they kissed also. They told each other they love each other again. And basically, Zoey also talked about how there's schools in California that Chase could teach at. So, like, what? Like, I don't know. I mean, that seems like they're pretty much together, according to me. But lots of people say that their relationship was kind of rushed. But I'm not gonna lie, I feel like no matter what Zoey does, Chase will always go back to her, because he is that desperately in love with her. Like, she literally could, like, do something really messed up, even though she already kind of did, but I mean, like, really messed up, and he probably would still love her just for the sake of loving her. Like, he fell in love with her the moment he saw her, when they were 13. So, like, like, what? I don't know. I also very much like Erin Sanders' acting in her glow up. Yeah. I do like how they did make Quinn glow up. Like, she looks more like Erin Sanders than Quinn, yet she acted still like Quinn. Like, we know that's still her. She's still smart, but now she has a full-on glow up, and they still made her. And like, again, there was a scene where Erin Sanders were acting her heart out. It was when she was leaving in the middle of the wedding. She was like really emotional. She drove the getaway car. She was really like riled up, tears were streaming down her face. Like, it was a really good acting for Erin Sanders. Good job. And I also very much enjoyed I very much enjoyed the directing for this film. The directing was really neat. It was really neat. It was just the way stuff was filmed, the choreography, the way transitions kind of were, the way that the characters moved, the camera actions, kind of like the production of like music even. Like, just like, I don't know, just little stuff like that I learned to appreciate for these small things. Like, it was a pretty good directing for like the budget they probably had for this movie. And of course, I enjoy the nostalgia. That's pretty much like a given. Even though there's not a lot of original characters, I don't know if I really explained it, but the people who did come back, I would just say their character names is like Zoey, Chase, Logan, Michael, Stacy, and Mark. I believe there's all the original characters. So not that many compared to how many characters there actually was in Zoey 101. But again, it was very nostalgic. We got to see where they are. We got to see, like, they made lots of references. It was really cute. We got to see the acting between lots of them. And again, again, it's a movie, and I appreciate that. Lots of people say they wish it was a show, but I kind of wish it was opposite. Like, I really wish there was, like, a Zoey 101. I really wish there was, like, an iCarly movie rather than a show, because I feel like they could really drag out the storylines, and there's lots of filler involved. But that's why I like that this was a movie, because there really wasn't that many filler, because it was a movie. They had to kind of pack it all in to, like, like, 140 minutes. So it makes sense. And that also just leads into my another point. I just love how this was a movie instead of a show, which I just basically talked about before, but that's on my list of what I like. Is I like how this was a movie. It wasn't insanely dragged out. There might be a sequel because, again, it kind of ended in a cliffhanger, but it's weird. And I also do like how they went back to PCA, because after they made that outrageous statement about PCA not being real, I was like, so do they not care where they came from? They don't care about it whatsoever? I don't know. I just kind of like thought it was weird. But again, I like how they went back to PCA, which it kind of shows them that they can, that they do enjoy PCA. It's where they grew up. It's where they all fell in love. It's where they loved each other. It's where they all became friends. So I love how they do respect that, and that's part of their personality. I do feel like that was really a good addition to this movie. And another point that I thought of is I love how they made the characters really in character, despite it not being directed or written by Dan Schneider. I do feel like it was really creative, especially Quinn, like I mentioned before. How, yes, they made her really successful, they made her really pretty. I mean, she's always been pretty, but they had her a glow up, basically. They had her a glow up, she looks really nice, but they still kept her the same nerdy Quinn, which I really liked. Like, it would have been annoying if, like, she dropped her whole science stuff and now she's like, oh, like a supermodel somewhere or whatever. They still made her really smart. They made her a genius. They made her a nerd. They made her, like, just who she was in the original show, which I very much like. And the same thing with Michael. Michael is very much in character. The same with Chase. Chase was still the same goofy guy he was 20 years ago. The same thing with Michael. He was the same. Even Logan was relatively the same, though he did have a lot of maturity, because they actually did mention, I believe Zoey was one who mentioned this when she was making her maid of honor toast. She basically did mention how she thought that Quinn was a good person, but Quinn also made Logan a better person, which I do agree after seeing that they've been together for like 10 years at this point. And I know I keep bringing this up, but the Krogan wedding, I loved it. They finally got married, of course, so it was a happy endgame for them. And of course, Stacy and Mark got married, so good for them. But it was also, again, cute to see Chase and Zoey kind of get back together. It was nice. I enjoyed it. So honestly, there isn't a lot of specific stuff for the things I didn't like in this section. And I won't go too much into it because there isn't really that much. But I'll just say it anyway. So like I mentioned before, I just didn't like the ending because it was the whole thing was pretty solid and lots of it made sense except for the very ending. It made no sense, it was really random, it was very cliffhangery. So unless they, I don't know, want to make a sequel to the movie, but again, it's one of those cliffhangers that makes no sense because it's about a character we don't know. Like, he's only in this movie, he's not in the original franchise. But also too, it's like a murder mystery. Like, does anyone want to eat a murder mystery? Like, why are they trying to make it so creepy? Like, why are they making it this way? It makes no sense. Like, I just thought it was really random and really weird. So I wasn't a fan of that. Even if they do make a sequel, like I said, it just shouldn't have been done. And another thing, how I mentioned in the beginning of this video, how it was made after the whole Jamie Lynn thing. This was probably planned before the whole Jamie Lynn thing kind of came out. But again, it kind of made it, like, seem bad. And it also kind of made us kind of second guess, like, the characters or the actors who wanted to act in this movie. Because it makes us think that they support Jamie Lynn, which I don't know if that's the case. But it kind of makes them kind of be shined in a bad light. Yeah, and another thing I didn't like is how Victoria's Justice wasn't in this movie. I know why a lot of people weren't in this movie, but Victoria Justice, I think I saw a behind-the-scenes picture of her where she was in this movie, and her character was mentioned once, and her picture was shown once. So, I don't know, apparently she said that it was like scheduling mix-up, like she couldn't be there because she was doing something else or something. But again, that could have been an excuse. I don't know, maybe there's a more personal reason why she couldn't be there. But again, I don't know, it's just weird. I just feel like, I don't know. I didn't feel like it definitely would have been better with her there because I freaking love Lola. I love her character, especially in season 3 and 4. Great. Loved her. And again, this is just very Pacific, but like, I just don't like some of their jobs that they have because I feel like they're all really unrealistic. Like, I get Michael's, I kind of understand. He's like, a music producer. Love that. And of course, Logan's makes sense because he kind of inherited his dad's work. And of course, Quinn makes sense. But I don't know. I just don't think Zoe's really makes. I think the only one who really makes sense is Chase, because he just has like a complete in the middle job, nothing crazy. And again, I think Zoe's job is really weird and random. Like, why are they all producers? And of course, I don't like Stacy's job really, or Mark's. Like, it's just really weird and kind of all over the place. And I don't know. I just thought it was just really random. Like, I don't know why they're all producers pretty much. Like, really, none of them have like a normal job except for Chase, really. So I'm like, okay. And of course, the last thing I said that I do not like is that random comment that they make about PCA, about Dean Rivers. Like, why do my Dean like that? Why do him like that? I don't know. I just thought it was weird. So yeah, that's basically my commentary for this movie. Again, I probably give it a 7 out of 10. Probably. It wasn't awful. I don't know. There's nothing that I was like missing. Like, there was never a part where I was like, oh, I wish they did this or anything like that. So I guess it's like pretty solid. But again, it has lots of hate. I believe it has a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes as I'm filming this. So it's still a ripe tomato, but it's not the best. But again, if you guys have time, I do recommend watching it. I watched it on an illegal website, so I didn't give them any money. I also do that for shows that I hate watch, because I do that a lot. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm probably going to be making a video about the Barbie movie, because I just saw that, and I'll give my full commentary on it later. Hope you guys enjoy. Bye.